All right, fantastic. So they're all doing that. Hello. Yes, look at all you guys. Okay, great. So let's get to it because there's a lot to answer. There really is a lot to answer. And so I'm going to pick a question. I'm going to go ahead and answer a question. And then how about this? Rebecca, you start. Okay, why don't you go ahead and start with a question, and then we'll just go back and forth, and we'll pick our own.
Okay. Okay. Right. There was a great question from Brittany. When is it okay to sleep train, set a firm nap schedule? And I thought this is actually a really great question. So when is it okay to sleep train? That you're going to get loads of different information online as to when is a good time to sleep train and when isn't. And it just gets very confusing. I think, and what I found, I've been working with families for like a million years, for over 20 years. And what I found within my time working with families is that it completely depends on your child's temperament as the best age to get started with some sleep training, as well as finding the earliest age to get started with some sleep training. So remember, you know your child better than anybody, and they have their own unique temperament. They can be laid back, easygoing, they can be more intense and spirited, or they can be a bit more sort of shy and slow to warm up. If you have a child who is super laid back and easygoing, you can get started with some gentle sleep training. And this is with a much more hands-on technique. So this is not with cried out at about 4 months of age. If you have a more intense and spirited child, or a slow to warm up and shy child, you would want to wait until a minimum of 6 months of age to use a hands-on gentle technique. If you are looking at using a cried out or further technique, you would want to wait with a laid back child to somewhere between 6 and 9 months. And with a more intense spirited child, you just want to completely avoid it because they're going to get themselves in a right old panic and they're not going to no one's going to be sleeping. So it really does depend on the temperament of your child. The reason that I suggest if you want to use further or cry it out and suggest waiting 6 to 9 months is because it's high stress. It just is. Leaving your child alone crying is high stress. And is that something we really want to be putting a younger child through? Probably not.
Yeah.
And it's also stressful for you. But also there's that attachment part. Just sort of ignoring your child when they're crying for some help. You want to have a real firm attachment before you're going to be doing that. So that's why I suggest that. With the age for starting on your nap time routine, I think anytime after 12 weeks of age is perfect because we've gone then from infant sleep cycles to actually adult sleep cycles. And so it's perfect to start on that sort of nap time routine and that more structured day. You can find, we go really, really in depth into this in my membership site, Slumber Academy. We go really in depth in finding the perfect daytime routine, and then as well going super in depth into really gentle, hands-on sleep training.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, if you guys have not checked out Rebecca's Slumber Academy, you want to do that. And the way to do that is in the links today. When you type the word baby, it's in the links, so you can just click right over after the show and check it out. But to really go deeper, and this is for both of us. We can do so. We got 75 questions that came in. Obviously, we can't answer all of them, and we can't go really into depth on any one question. And I know you guys want your answers. And I love the fact that you're turning to us for that information, which is a good idea. Okay, there's a lot of places to get information on the internet. You want to make sure that you're seeking out true experts in what they do, and you found that here. But that's, again, it's difficult to do in a 1 hour time frame here, and you really need that support. So the first thing I would say is if you are struggling with breastfeeding, that you want to find a local lactation consultant. Okay, this is not anything we're telling you here can't be used in like as a substitute for hands-on in-person support from a lactation consultant. I just want to say that across the board. I always tell you that, okay? But if you really wanted to work with us closer, Rebecca's Slumber Academy is the way to do it. And for me, I know you've all been hearing me talk about the My Baby Experts membership site, where I will have a group of people that I will be working with directly, and that is going to be launching mid-August, around August 14th, okay? And you're going to be hearing a lot more about that in the next few weeks, obviously, but there'll be a short window. We are opening the doors only for about 4 days. Okay. It's going to be mid-August. The door will be open for 4 days. And during those 4 days, if you want to join, you will have access to get in. Once that door closes, we're going to have to close the doors because we are getting it ready for the full launch that will come about a month and a half later. Okay. And I'm going to need a whole bunch of you guys to join and help me record all the rest of the content that we're going to be doing. I'm doing all the lessons. The new Simply Breastfeeding is just about to be released. So there's going to be so much fun, and you're going to get in at a price that is going to be way lower than it's ever going to be, and you'll have that for life. Okay, so if you want to learn more about, I want to know, is anybody excited about this? Because I'm really excited. I've been trying to do this for a long time. I'm really excited about this, and I can't wait to see you guys join. If you want to join early access for My Baby Experts, it's a link in the message you're getting from me today, and it'll put you on the wait list. So make sure that you go and sign up for the wait list, and then you'll be the first to know so that you don't miss your opportunity and you don't get blocked out. Okay. Fantastic. Yes. All right. So let me go ahead and answer a question then.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Question that came from Ashley. Interesting question. Okay. And what she said was, when breastfeeding a singleton, meaning one baby, a mom should have 6,400 units of vitamin D to ensure that the baby is getting enough as well. How much vitamin D should I take daily as I'm exclusively breastfeeding twins? Well, first of all, yay, Ashley, what an amazing accomplishment. She's exclusively breastfeeding twins, and she's asking about vitamin D, which is a very important question, okay? I just finished actually writing this one section into Simply Breastfeeding, so I was very excited to see the question come in because I just started writing about it. But vitamin D, when we talk about breast milk really does have everything in it that your baby needs. This idea that you would need to supplement them with multivitamins and other things, and nothing. Babies really do not need anything other than your breast milk in order to maintain good health and have everything they need for their development, except with the big exception, okay, vitamin D. And the reason we say that is because the way that your body, their body, your body, everybody makes vitamin D is from sun exposure. And most of us do not get enough direct sunlight and sun exposure on our skin to produce the vitamin D that our bodies make. We are not going to get this vitamin D from our food. And if we do, it is in such small quantities, it'll never be enough to have the health benefits or to adequately maintain your blood levels where they should be. So that being said, your baby needs to be supplemented with vitamin D, or if you're breastfeeding, you need to take an adequate amount of vitamin D in order to have the right concentration in your milk. All right. And if you take enough, your milk should be fine, and you really don't need to supplement with extra vitamin D. I prefer that method over giving the baby vitamin D. All right. If you feel like, oh, I can't remember to take the supplement every day because you need to take it, then yes, of course you want to do it. Give it to your baby. But if you can remember to take 6,400 international units daily yourself, that means that you're going to get all the health benefits, which there are many, okay, of having good vitamin D levels, and your baby too will get that. When it comes to twins, there's not a lot of research out there to say, okay, well, do you need to take more? I would say logically, you're making more milk. I would take more. And so this fear about like, oh, I'll take too much, it's only supposed to be this much, I'm taking that much. You could take a lot of vitamin D. I mean, the research is out there that you could take a lot of vitamin D and it's fine. All right. So I would take up to 8,000 or 10,000 units of vitamin D and you'll still be okay. You can have your blood levels checked, but it doesn't really give you an adequate reading. It's not going to tell you how much is in your milk. All right. So I would just take more just to be on the safe side. I would make sure I'm taking it every single day. And for all of you, whether you're nursing 1 or 2, you should be, and even if you're formula feeding, okay, even if you're not breastfeeding, you should still be taking because your body needs it as well.
Definitely. I live in Seattle, so everybody in Seattle is low on vitamin D. Everybody.
It's true. So many areas, and especially through the winter months, and especially if you have darker skin, you're really going to have those low levels of vitamin C. Okay. Yeah. And so, yeah. Great. So I think it's a great question. I'm glad somebody.
Yeah, no, that is a great question.
Yeah, fantastic. Can we for a minute show them what the prizes are from Love to Dream and Evenflo? So
Yes,
Love to Dream, let's start with Love to Dream, okay? I got my little baby here. This is the Love to Dream Swaddle Up, okay? This baby's arms don't go up very well like your baby's will, and your baby wants to, okay? It's a sleep sack, okay, that the baby gets zipped into. And the difference between this one is that the arms are in an upward position, which is way more anatomically correct, I'd say, for your baby, way more comfortable. Babies like to have their arms up where they can self-soothe, they can bring their hands to mouth. It's also really great if you're breastfeeding, because one of the ways that you want to know when it's time to feed your baby, we don't look at the clock, right? We don't look at anything other than the cues that the baby is giving us. And one of the early signs of wanting to eat and hunger is bringing their hands to their mouth and sucking. Okay, they'll suck on anything. And if they can get their hands to mouth, they will. If their arms are strapped down the way they would be in a traditional swaddle, you could miss those early feeding cues. And then those feedings get delayed. Baby may not gain weight as fast. The baby will wait till they're crying to tell you they want to eat. And that could make feedings difficult. It's really difficult to latch a baby when they're overly hungry. You want to catch them early in their feeding cues. And to make sure that you're just, if you don't do it, your milk supply can decrease. All right. So these are all really good reasons for the Swaddle Up for breastfeeding. Rebecca, you want to talk about why this is good just for sleep?
Yes, definitely. What I love about it is it's that much more natural position, the arms up. You've all seen babies sleeping without being swaddled, and they're naturally in that arms up position. So it's a much more natural position to be in for all of us. You can imagine how tough it must actually be to sleep with your arms pinned down to your side. Now, the Moro reflex is what this swaddle is protecting against. The Moro reflex is that startle reflex that can wake your child up as you're maybe laying them down, or they're even going through sleep cycles. So they're not going to have much, though the Love to Dream is nice and stretchy, it's not going to be enough movement to actually wake them up. What I love most about this is that it's the easiest swaddle to transition out of. That's not something you're necessarily thinking of when you're buying swaddles or you're with your newborn, but at some point they've got to get out of that swaddle. And I hear so often from families who really struggle with that. And I've actually suggested to families, they go from the traditional swaddles where their children's arms are pinned down to their side, to actually buying the Love to Dream, to keeping them swaddled that way, because then getting them out of the swaddle is so much easier to do. So much easier to do.
Yeah, I'm trying to get over to the 50-50 image. I have so many images here. Let me just click through. I'm actually holding the 50-50 in my arms right now. And what that means is when Rebecca, let me just get rid of this. When Rebecca talked about, transitioning them, the 50-50 will completely zip off. So the arms will completely zip off and remove, which means that you can do this slowly and you can transition them gently. You can actually remove one when they start to fall asleep, and you want to start that sometime around 3 to 4 months when they start to show signs of rolling over. Sometimes earlier. I had somebody put in our group recently. They're I don't know, 6 week, was it 6 week old, 4 week old was rolling over. And so every baby's different. You really want to watch to see those milestones starting to be reached, because it has nothing to do with age at times. That's just the guideline. So, but it's a great product. We love it. And you'll also get links in your message.
You're also still going to get the benefit, even if you have a really young child who's in the Love to Dream, but they have the arms out. It's nice and snug around the torso and around the tummy. And that can be very, very soothing. So even if you're sort of done with the arms out, don't feel that you've got to ditch that the Love to Dream. You can keep using it until they no longer fit. But you may actually find that it continues to help with sleep because of that nice snugness around the tummy and the torso.
You can see it in the picture right here. Like that's with one of the arms released. This is actually the winter version. It's beautiful quilted so that it keeps the baby warm without overheating them. And I think that's really important too. This is a product that really helps to keep your baby safe. All right. You're not wrapping your baby in a blanket where you wind up with 5 layers by the time you're done. You're not using something that could come undone and go over their face while they're sleeping. This is why it's important to use a product like this where you know the baby's going to be safe, the baby's going to be warm, but not too warm where they're overheated. And you can see that this very hourglass shape to it. That's the tight tummy compression that we're talking about around the baby, that they like to feel that tightness around their belly. But it also flares out for their legs, because for their hip development, there needs to be the ability to splay their legs open. They should not be straight leg. Babies need that for their hips to fully develop.
Mm-hmm.
Right? So they've just thought of everything. Great, great, great thing. We love it. We love it because, it keeps babies, anything that keeps babies safe and healthy and helps everybody sleep a little bit better. That's it. That's everything. Right?
That's the dream.
That's it. Like, there's nothing else. Bye, everyone. That was it. There was nothing else.
You don't need any other product. That's it.
We actually do, because we have even.
That's true. There's one other product we need right now.
We actually do need something else. I'm going to show you. Okay, so this is the other prize. Ooh, almost dropped it. This is the other prize for today. All right. This is the fabulous Hush Evenflo Advanced Double Electric Breast Pump. This is a breast pump that I actually helped to design. So I had a lot of input into a lot of the features that went with this product. I've been working with them for almost 7 years, and just some of my favorite people in the world, and really committed to babies and moms all over to make products that are going to help them to succeed with breastfeeding long-term, go back to work, and do it at an affordable price so that moms have access to it. And that's so important to me. I want to make sure that whatever we're recommending here are things that you can actually get. All right. And for a lot of people, you can even get these pumps through your insurance. I have links for you in your message. If you want me to help you get one, I can go through the link. And I also have links to where you can purchase the Evenflo Advanced Double, but somebody's going to win it. It has features like multiple flange sizes, okay, which is really important. Very soft ones too. If you're using this pump, I know there's a lot of fans out there right now. So I want them to go ahead and tell us what they love. And then closed system, so no milk gets in the tubing, adjustable speed and suction control, so you can get those multiple letdowns with my 3-stage pumping method that you guys tell me love that you love and it works. And then the ability to use multiple power options like an AC adapter, AA batteries, and there's also a car adapter as well. The other great thing that they just came out with is all their pumps all interchange together. So now they have the double electric. They also have the advanced single, and the advanced manual. And what that means is all the parts use the same flanges. So you can interchange all your multiple flange sizes with all these comfortable flange inserts on all their versions, which is a fantastic option, right? And if you didn't notice, the tiny little colostrum collectors. Yeah.
And it's super light. I love that it's so light. The pump is so light, because if you're having to take that to work each day, you don't want to be lugging around something that weighs, 20 pounds.
Yeah. You know what I want to say about that? I have people who come back and say, I don't know, the suction, I don't really feel the suction. It's not strong enough. And I'll tell you right now, this pump has been tested, third-party tested. It has hospital grade strength. Okay, it is a strong. You don't want to turn it up all the way. I know what the levels are. You don't want this turned up all the way. The difference is when you use a pump like this, okay, and it's so comfortable. You guys are not used to comfort, which you should be, because pumping should not hurt. All right, let's turn this into a lesson right here for a minute. Pumping should not hurt. Pumping should be comfortable, because if it hurts in any way, you are going to suppress your letdown reflex. You're not going to be able to release the oxytocin. That is really the thing that's getting the milk to let down. Okay, the pump or the baby doesn't suck the milk out of the breast. We're trying to stimulate the nerve impulse to your brain to get oxytocin to release and get the milk to let down. When you're in pain, when you're stressed, when you're cold, when you're, not in a comfortable place, you're nervous, okay, any of those things, that could inhibit your oxytocin release. And so when you're sitting there and you're trying to turn your pump all the way up with a really hard, super hard flange, and you're thinking, okay, now I really feel it. Now it hurts. It must be working. that's not how this is supposed to work. And when I've worked directly with moms where they've tried it for the first time and they're pumping and we're talking and they're not paying attention and they've got the pump on and they're like, I don't know, I don't feel anything. And they look down and there's milk in the bottle because it's actually working, but it's not going to be that hard suction feeling that you are expecting. It's too comfortable, and that's a good thing. And if you haven't watched the comfort pumping webinar that I did back in December, I did a whole show just on comfort pumping. It was very illuminative for a lot of people to go, oh, I never even thought of this, and I'm using a pump and it isn't comfortable. And I'm wondering if that's why I'm not getting enough milk. And they've switched and they're like, I'm getting twice as much milk. It's really remarkable. So yay. So somebody will be winning that. Okay. And so I am very excited to have you guys be able to get one of those. Whose turn is it? Yours?
Me, yes.
Go for it.
Okay, so I like this question from Sean. My 11-month-old, she wakes 3 to 5 times a night still. Is this normal, and how do I get her to sleep longer? She's nursing, has 7 teeth. Okay, so waking up is completely normal. We all wake, humans wake between 2 and 6 times a night. So the waking up part isn't really an issue at all. Because it's something that we are designed to do. There is nobody on the planet who sleeps through the night and does not wake up. You may feel that you slept through the night and didn't wake up, but I guarantee that you did. And you may not, it's not necessarily a full wake up, but you may have just rolled over and gone back down into a deeper sleep. Now, if you need help getting to sleep, when you wake naturally during the night, you are going to need help getting back to sleep. That's completely normal to do, because you then don't have the skills to get yourself to sleep and therefore back to sleep. So the waking up and needing help, that may be a little bit of a problem. Now, there's many reasons why a child is going to wake. You know, a young child may wake because they're hungry. Well, feed them. If they're hungry, just feed them. That's the quickest way to get your child back to sleep, is to feed them. But a child who is 11 months old is not necessarily really needing to feed 5 times a night. If they're feeding well during the day and they're on sort of a full and varied diet, then they really shouldn't kind of need to have milk 5 times a night. And so actually the way that we can give them these skills is by doing some sleep training. That will teach your child the skills to get themselves to sleep and therefore back to sleep when they are not hungry. Sleep training does not mean that you are necessarily going to eliminate all feed. If your child is hungry, as I said earlier, just feed them. That's the quickest way to get them back down to sleep. But I don't necessarily think that an 11-month-old is hungry 5 times a night. I think they're relying on some help, whether it's food or rocking or bouncing or walking, whatever that looks like. But actually doing some gentle sleep training will help teach your child the skills. I don't have the time right now to go into the ins and outs of doing sleep training. I work with families for about 4 weeks, 4 to 6 weeks when I work with them privately. And then you'll find it's a step-by-step process that takes about 4 weeks, starting from start right to finish on my membership site. But I do advise, if you have been helping your child back to sleep many times a night, whether that's with rocking or feeding, that you use a really gentle sleep training technique, simply because if you've gone from all that help during the night to suddenly trying to give none, that's such a huge, big step, both you and your child. And I think it's just going to be too hard for everybody. So that's why, if you've been given lots of help, that rather than just completely just leaving your child to see what they can do for themselves for a very long time, be there, help them, pick them up, soothe them. And then with my sleep training technique, you work on getting less and less involved as the nights go on. My sleep training technique is called the Michi method, and we work on just getting less and less involved as the nights go on. Your child gradually becomes more and more independent.
Awesome. I see people asking questions here in the live chat, wanting to have their questions answered. There's so many people who submitted ahead of time, and you want to make sure that you submit your questions ahead of time. I'll be finishing up questions in the private group as well. So we'll be doing some more. But if you want to ask your question, I'll give you a hint. All right. Don't tell anybody. Here's the hint. All right. If you want to come to these live streams and get your question answered and get pushed to the top of the list, here's the single best way to do it. All right, I'm going to show you right now. See this link? I just put it up on the screen. Where is it? Did I put it up? Okay. See that link?
Mm-hmm.
If you go to that link, you can jump into the live stream with us right now with Rebecca and I. Like literally, you'll be on camera with us. The three of us will sit here and have a chat, just the three of us. Okay. And we will answer your question, whatever that question is. So I'm going to leave that up for everybody. Okay. If anybody feels like they want to jump in, all right, you need to just go and put this link. I think I actually included it as a link in the post here, so that you can get out and click and you should be able to jump into the live stream. All right. So if you want to ask your question and you're dying, you got like a burning question and you're like, I need to know. All right. We still have about 30 minutes left. You can go ahead and jump in and we will answer it for you. How's that sound? Good idea, Rebecca?
Very good idea.
That's the way it goes. That's the way we roll.
Mm-hmm.
All right. We like space. So you go ahead and jump in here. Awesome. All right. So let me answer another question here. Okay. So this one came from Star, and she said, I leave 10 to 12 ounces of breast milk for my baby when I leave for work for a 9-hour day. But the sitter somehow always has to use milk from my reserves. Should I leave more, or should I be worried about my baby being overfed? It can be both. All right, so let me say this. 10 to 12 ounces for 9 to 10 for a 9-hour day is typically the right amount. Mm-hmm. So I would say that you're not far off. Babies should be eating somewhere between 1 to 1.25 ounces per hour. So if we look at that, you're kind of right on track, like exactly on track, okay? Maybe more on the 12-ounce side would be safest if your baby needs a little more, all right? That would be your around 1.25. But that being said, some babies just need a little more milk. And so I don't want to give you some hard, fast rule like, no, they're overfeeding, and no, that extra 2 ounces your baby needs is they shouldn't be eating it. Babies want what they need. Mm-hmm. They need what they want. You know, they're going to tell you what they need. And with breastfeeding, when you're nursing at the breast, you really don't know how much they're eating exactly. So these are just estimates, and milk changes from day to day. And sometimes when they're going through growth spurts, they might need more. So I don't want to tell you not to leave extra. And that's a good thing that you have some extra reserves, because that may be, what you need right now. But my suggestion would be to try to pump extra, because you want to keep up with the baby's needs. All right. So if they keep pulling from the reserves, then your breast will never get the signal that you actually need to make more. The best way to do that is I would do more frequent pumpings during the day. It's better to pump more often than to pump for longer stretches of time. It gives your body, over a day or two of doing that, it will give your body the message to make more overall. I would also try to feed during the night, whether that's the baby waking up and you're nursing, or getting up and pumping a session during the night. Your prolactin levels are highest during the night. And so it's typically easier to get the milk out during the night. And for working mamas, it definitely takes the pressure off, because you really just need to get that quantity over a 24-hour period. And sometimes taking more frequent breaks at work is not as easy as doing one extra pumping sessions during the night, or even pumping one side while you're feeding the baby on the other first thing in the morning. That can tend to yield more milk that you can leave during the day. All right. And then to just circle back, in case it is enough, and in case there really is no issue with your baby needing more milk, and that it's just a matter of your sitter not pacing the baby's feedings. And what I mean by that is giving the bottle in a way that allows the baby to self-regulate how much they're taking. That means that you're giving it in a slow feeding. You are not laying the baby back completely and sticking that bottle in their mouth and pouring it down their throat, but they're sitting in a more upright position. The bottle is more in a horizontal position, so that it allows for the baby to control the flow. The fear over they're going to get more air that way, it's not true. It's really and stopping frequently, giving the baby as soon as you see the baby stopping to take the bottle out of their mouth, give them a chance to take a break and stop, just the way they do at the breast. They're able to control the flow at the breast, but they're not on a bottle. And very often babies are overfed with bottles. And this is not just with formula, but with breast milk. And so we need to be really careful no matter when we feed our baby with a bottle, whether it's formula or pumped milk, that we're pacing those feedings and we're allowing the baby to control it. So great question. And very common question. This is like the downward spiral. If you don't get a handle on it, whether it's the baby needs a little extra and you figure out another way where you're going to get some extra to pump, or the baby's just being overfed and now you just can't keep up. The idea it all goes back to that killing your confidence. Do you know what I mean? Like to really, it always comes back to, I must not be enough. I must not be making enough. I couldn't keep up. And usually, sometimes that happens, but usually that's not the case. Usually if you're doing everything you're supposed to, your milk supply should be adequate for your baby. So there's my answer.
Great. That's super helpful.
Thanks, Rebecca.
I love that about the paced feeding, because I think that's something that often goes kind of missed.
Mm-hmm.
It can also be a bit tricky, I think, if you are leaving your child with a sitter or with a daycare, that they're kind of, they're obviously experts in what they do, and having to talk to them about doing paced feeding may be a little bit of a tricky conversation, but it is well worth having. It really is. Mm-hmm.
Absolutely. I'll show you, when you're holding your baby, what that means is the baby should be more in a position like this. Okay. Not like this for feeding. So we're sitting them up. And then when we give them the bottle, we're not doing this with them. Okay. Mm-hmm. We're literally holding it in more of an upright position, and we're watching the baby. We're never propping the baby. We're never taking the baby and sticking them in a car seat and propping that bottle. Okay. You need to make sure that I know you guys would never do that with your own babies, right? But you got to make sure that the care providers are not doing that either. Very, very important. Babies need to control the feedings, but they also need to be held and talked to, and they need to have that eye contact. There's so much more to it than them just getting milk. Okay. They really need that interaction, and they can only do that when they're being held. And that's the time to do it when they're feeding. So, Yeah, fantastic. Rebecca, you're up.
Okay, let's go. Okay. Carrie had a question. I'm curious about thinking about the transition out of the crib for my daughter. So I want to ask Rebecca for her to share her wisdom on that. Okay, so transitioning out of the crib. Now, there's there's different ages that I'm not going to say there's different ages that make this easier, but there are certainly different ages that make this harder, this transition out of the crib. I think actually doing it sort of either earlier or later than you would naturally think is going to be much more successful. So maybe before 18 months or after 3 years old is going to make this transition so much easier. If you're trying to transition a 2-year-old out of the crib into a toddler bed, then that's when it's really tricky. And that's actually a lot of time that people are wanting to do this, is at that age, maybe because they're having another baby, or they just think now that their child sort of seems to be so much sort of, sturdier developmentally that they're ready for a toddler bed. If they're 2, I would say don't do it unless you have to do it. If you have to do it if they're able to climb out of their crib when it is on the lowest setting, then you need to do that. But otherwise, really don't do it. Simply because 2-year-olds, and you'll know this if you've ever met a 2-year-old, you will know this, that they are very impulse driven. They're not kind of thinking about much before doing something. They're just doing it. They can see that they can do it, and they do it. And so that is going to be getting out of the bed. They're doing it simply because they can, and they will just do it again and again and again and again and again. If you're waiting until your child is about 3 years old, then actually you're able to reason with them. Their language is a little bit higher, and they're beginning to lose that kind of impulse sort of so much. So actually, it's going to be a much easier way to transition them. So the way to do it is you can do this many ways. Maybe you have a separate bed, and they could maybe just still nap in the crib, or they could nap in the toddler bed, and you could just alternate between the two. A lot of times we have a crib that will actually transition into a toddler bed. It's just a case of kind of doing it, just going for it. I would suggest doing it early in the day, and have your child there being able to see what's happening, doing this early in the day. And then you've got to expect that even if they are 3, they're still going to get out of bed because they can. And you just have to kind of keep taking them back. Don't start doing things that you do not want to do long term, meaning don't start laying on the floor in your child's room or sitting on the bed with them whilst they're falling asleep if they were getting themselves to sleep beforehand, because that is going to be your new normal. And that's something then that your habit that you're going to have to break. So that means that you just need to you do need to repeatedly take your child back to bed. And I know this can be a lot of times. So plan when this is going to happen. Don't do this before, the day before your child is going to be in a wedding and they're sort of, whatever role they have, or you've got something big happening. Plan for this to happen on when you can be. They're going to be lacking on sleep. They just are, because if they normally just roll over and go to sleep, and now they're spending 45 minutes, an hour getting back into bed. Then they're going to be missing out on some sleep. So just sort of strategically plan when is going to be a good time for your family to do this.
Yeah. It's just not straightforward. It's not simple. It's so, all of this is so trial and error at times, but all of parenting is, it really is, it really is. It's been that way for us. And my oldest is 17. She just got a car and left the house for the first time in her own car. And I'll tell you, it's been the hardest milestone yet. Let me say that. By far the hardest milestone yet. And I trust her, and she's amazing and she's wonderful. And yet I'm terrified, because we were always worried about our children being safe and being okay. But there's no right or wrong answers, and there really is. It's so trial and error, and all we can do is turn to each other and look for advice from someone who's been through it, or who's had experience, or for us, have worked with thousands of other people who have gone through it, and what's worked, and turn to the research, and what does the research show. But not always does the research tell us practically the best way to do something with our own child. And so you're going to take all this information, and then you're going to process that through the lens of your own intuition. Everything that you hear, everything that we're talking about, everything that you're reading from other moms, maybe you're in my Facebook group and you're reading, their responses, and everybody's got a different answer. Maybe you go to a pediatrician and they've got an answer. You take all that in. Okay, you take all that in, and then that needs to go through the filter. Okay, there is a filter that is your own feelings as a mom, your own intuition, what feels right. When I say feel, that's what you're looking for, is like that feeling, feeling that you have of does that feel right? Does that feel good or not? And that's actually that's actually your brain, your mind, your heart, your soul telling you what's right for you. All right. And I think that so often we, especially with social media, they're just this is the right way, this is the wrong way. And you're bombarded with all these different things. And I think it's really important that we just represent ourselves and you as a new mom to the fact that you do have a knowing inside, and it needs to go through that knowing, because your child.
Yes.
That's it. Period.
Yeah. Another thing I'd like to add there is that nothing is perfected instantly. I mean, if I picked up a tennis racket today, I am not going to be anywhere near as good as Serena Williams is. And even with practice, I wouldn't be anywhere, but I would get better. And that's the same don't expect that night one of anything or starting out breastfeeding is necessarily going to be perfect. It's not. It sort of is a work in progress. And so the more we practice something, the better we get, whether that's me with a tennis racket or learning a language or learning how to sleep without a swaddle or now learning to sleep in a bed or beginning to breastfeed or transition to a bottle or a cup. It comes with practice. And a lot of times I hear from families, they try to do something and say, oh, it didn't work. We tried one night and it didn't work. So nothing is ever going to be perfect with night one or with try one or even try 3. It's just something that is a work in progress. So don't let that first time, you you're not going to be perfect at anything the first time you try it.
No, and if you think you did it perfect the first time and you try to do it again with the second baby or the third, they will quickly let you know that wasn't perfect for them. All right?
Oh, yeah.
Because they're all different, really different, and they come out of the womb like that, right? And then they stay like that.
Yeah. As I mentioned earlier about temperament when it comes to sleep training, you can't change that. Your child is who they are. And there's nothing you can do to change that. You've just kind of got to work with them rather than trying to force them to do things that are actually impossible for them to do.
Yeah. And remember that they don't stay like these littles forever. Then before you know it, they're in their car driving away. So if they want to be in your bed and they want to like cuddle with you, I would take that. I take it sometimes, but I don't get it often anymore. So enjoy it, right? All right. Let me answer another breastfeeding question. This one came in from Kristen. I feel like I saw her name in the chat, so hopefully she's here. Kristen said, is it normal for my 2-month-old baby to want to breastfeed nonstop? Here's how I'm going to answer this for you, Kristen. When you say nonstop, I want to really know what that means. Does that mean like literally nonstop, like the baby never stops and cries, at the end of a feeding and not satisfied at all? Oh, I think somebody's in the chat because I can hear them. Oh, yes, they are. Tori, I see you and I can hear your baby. Let's do this. Let's hold on Kristen's answer and let's bring Tori in, okay, and have her ask her question, and we'll come back after and answer Kristen's question. All right, so here we go. Hi, Tori. I heard him. I'm like, where's that crying coming from? How are you?
Good. How are you?
Good. Good to see you.
I have a couple sleep questions. We were at his 4-month appointment yesterday, and his doctor suggested to stop his night bottle and to let him sleep through the night. And I was just curious if, I don't know, he like wakes up once a night and eats a bottle.
Okay.
How old is he?
Yeah. How old is he?
4 months.
Okay. It's really the fact that he's only waking once and having 1 bottle a night is way kind of above average. Most 4-month-olds are waking way more than that. So he's doing great. So you can kind of be feeling a little bit like, hey, if I'm doing great, then I'm just going to stick with what I'm doing, because honestly, it could be you are getting up 5 times a night and needing to feed 5 times a night. And that's obviously much more challenging.
Right.
How much does he get in that bottle during the night?
8 ounces.
Okay. You could try reducing it down a little bit. That would be the way that I would suggest doing. And I would do that. We reduce it down to maybe 7 or 7.5 ounces for 3 or 4 nights, and then reduce down by another 1/2 ounce or 1 ounce. You'll know kind of when you've got to that sweet spot, because when you go a little bit less than that sweet spot, he'll either wake up much earlier in the morning, ready to start the day, or he'll wake up again pretty soon after you've given him that feed. So it may be that he only needs 5 ounces during the night, and that's good to keep him going. But don't suddenly cut down to 5 ounces. I would just work on just really slowly, gradually reducing it down. But it may be that he needs that. It may be that he does. But
is it Tori, is it breast milk or formula?
It's formula.
It's formula. Okay. All right. And when you start to cut it down, do you notice that he's still hungry after that amount?
Like last night, he slept through the night. I just gave him his pacifier and he slept through the night. So I don't know if that's why she suggested she said cold turkey cut the bottle.
Oh no, don't. I seriously would not do that. I really, really would advise completely against that, because that's a lot of milk that he's then going to be missing out on. So I wouldn't. And though he slept through the night, it may be that he's completely ready for that. But I just think that by completely cutting it out, it's likely to lead to more problems than if you did it kind of gradually, reducing it down gradually. It's much easier, because then you're adjusting the amount of milk that he's getting. You're shifting from nighttime to daytime. And that's what we want, because chances are he needs that amount of milk that he's getting. And you kind of judge
I just had one of our moms. She's actually a friend of mine. Reach out to me. She has a 4-month-old also, but she's breastfeeding, and she just started back at work, and she got the same advice from a pediatrician with a 4-month-old baby, saying, "Baby shouldn't be waking up during the night anymore. Stop giving the middle of the night feeding." And this was breastfeeding. And she called me, saying, "My milk is now decreased, and I'm so stressed out because the baby's screaming at night. It would be so much easier to feed the baby." And I'm thinking, this is the worst advice. And I don't care whether you are breastfeeding or formula feeding, okay? It does not matter. When a baby is hungry, a baby is hungry. And the idea that a 4-month-old baby should be sleeping during the night because the pediatrician thought that's the age. What are you going to do? Like, not give him food when he's hungry? Right. He's not manipulating you. Okay, this is what it drives me crazy. I mean, and I told her, today you stop this whole thing. Like, when that baby wants to eat during give that baby there. She's like, that's what I felt like I wanted to do. It felt so bad to hear her crying, and my milk is decreasing during the day. Now I can't bring home enough pump milk. And I thought, this is ridiculous. Like, she's so much happier. She actually messaged and showed me her pumped milk, that she's back up to her 4 or 5 ounces of pumping during work, and things are better. But I really, again, it goes back, Tori, back to the conversation I just had before you jumped in, where it's like, yeah, you're getting this information, and then it has to go through that filter of, does that feel right to you?
Yeah.
Like, when you ask yourself that question right now, when the pediatrician told you that, how did that feel for you to think, I have to withhold this?
I was like, I don't know. But my other son slept through a night by now, so I was like, maybe he's supposed to? I don't know.
No, most children are not sleeping through the night at this age. Most are not going anywhere near at this age. You've just been blessed with very good sleepers.
They printed a paper off and handed it to me at the end, and it said 90% of babies sleep through a night by 4 months. And I was like,
no, that honestly, that's false. I'll post some a little bit later. I'll post some studies that show when children are waking. I will post those in the comments here, because I think it's really interesting reading. And as well, there is nothing to say when a child can no longer feed during the night. There is nothing mathematical. There is nothing scientific. There is nothing magical. There is just completely depends on the child as to when they no longer feed during the night. That could be right now at 4 months. For some children, it's at 6 weeks. But for others, that's not until they're a year old. And all of those are completely normal, because they're what's normal for that child. So I would definitely work on reducing down. You'll know when you get too low. And it may be that you can completely eliminate. But you'll know when you get too low, because he's going to start waking up early in the morning because he's hungry, or he's going to be adding another wake up to his night.
Yeah, well, think about it. If they need to eat a certain amount in 24 hours, and your routine has been that you're giving him an 8-ounce bottle during the night, he's taking less during the day. So now he really is hungry for that bottle. Mm-hmm. So to Rebecca's point of like starting to reduce the amount, he'll probably start to be hungrier and eat more during the day. And then you'll see if it's just a matter of giving him more during the day when he's hungry, and then he may start to sleep, but he may not. Mm-hmm. And so I totally agree with Rebecca there. Do it slowly and start to reduce it. He'll start to pick up that food during the day. He's going to need it.
Okay.
All right. Thanks for jumping in.
I have one more question.
Okay.
My 2-year-old will not sleep in his bed all of a sudden. Like the last month, he sleeps on the floor in his room. And I wouldn't care, but he's so cranky.
You may want to make up a little. I'd make up a little bed for him on the floor so that he's comfortable there, rather than fight it. I just think that it's a fight. If he's 2, it's a fight that's probably not worth fighting.
Right.
Fighting with 2-year-olds is never fun, and nobody ever.
Never fight with a 2-year-old. You'll always lose.
You're always going to lose. And so I would just make up something, even if it's just literally a pillow and a couple of blankets. But I would just let him do that. Honestly, he'll get back in his bed. I guarantee it. If you really want to, you could even move the mattress on the floor and just be like, maybe that's what he wants. But that sort of is. I really wouldn't sort of make an issue out of it. I know you can just say, oh my God, he's so cranky. I want him to sleep in the bed. if that's not going to happen, let's see how we can get him some better quality sleep. And that's probably by being more comfortable.
Okay.
Awesome.
All
Thank
right,
you so much for joining us. Good to see you, Tori.
Bye.
Bye.
Aw, he was so cute.
How cute those cheeks. Oh my gosh, he was so precious.
The cutest. Adorable. Adorable. All right, let's go back to Kristen's question while I still have some time to answer, because she was probably like, oh, I'm getting my question. And I'm sorry, I stopped you. If you had to leave or you didn't see this, you can always go back. But Kristen, let's just to remind everybody, and before we answer this, if anybody joined us late and wants to win the prizes from Love to Dream and also from Evenflo Feeding, we're giving away the advanced double electric breast pump and 2 swaddle ups or 50/50s, your choice. Okay, make sure that you type the word baby and that you comment here letting us know what you love about it. All right. I also would love for you to like this post, do some hearts. Let's get some hearts anyway. Okay. We need some love on this Wednesday. We've answered a lot of questions today. We did good today, Rebecca.
Yeah, and share. Everybody should share. Everybody's got somebody who is going to benefit from watching this video.
And one more thing too. I don't know if you guys have entered the what do you call it? It's my July photo giveaway. But we have some unbelievable entries, and I don't know why it's not pulling up here on my screen today. But if you didn't enter the July Photo Baby giveaway, make sure that you did that you do that. It is in the links when you message me with the word baby. Okay. So now, Kristen, is it normal for my 2-month-old to want to breastfeed nonstop? Okay. If you're saying nonstop in a literal way, where it is literally nonstop, there is no sleep time, there is no time of satisfaction, the baby never feels like they're full, and it is constant, okay, meaning baby never comes off satisfied, then no, that is not normal, okay? That is the baby struggling to get milk. That is the baby not eating enough. There's a problem. They're going to exhaust themselves, okay? And you need to get checked out. You should be seeing a lactation consultant if your baby is nursing nonstop, and I mean literally. Now, that being said, sometimes we say things that are figuratively. Like, we don't mean nonstop. We just mean like every hour.
But it feels like nonstop.
Exactly. It feels like nonstop, but there is a stop. And the baby gets to stop while you go and try to like eat something in between. And then you feel like you never stopped because you never got a break. That's totally different. And if that's happening while the baby is still giving you lots of wet and poopy diapers and gaining weight adequately, and you can hear those audible swallows, you can hear the milk going down, and then the baby comes off and passes out and just feels like they want to eat again an hour later, that could just be a growth spurt. Mm-hmm. And that's totally normal. And that can happen anytime around 3 weeks, 6 weeks, 3 months, 6 months, but it can also happen at 2 months. All right. And that's how it looks and feels, is like your baby just wants to eat nonstop. That means that they're just hungry, that this is and the truth is that when you have a growth spurt, you don't have enough milk. You have enough milk to sustain them if you feed all the time for that day or two that you're going through it. But it's not that you have enough. You want to actually increase your supply. What's the best way to increase your supply? Let your baby eat all the time for 24 to 48 hours on demand. Follow your baby's cues, no clocks, no worries about like, oh, I just did this, no listening to your mother-in-law and your friends and everybody else who's like, you feed that baby a bottle, right? Because you hear that.
Yes.
You hear that. You're going to listen to me, okay? If the baby is peeing, if the baby is pooping, if the baby seems to be doing well and gaining weight, and then this all of a sudden came out of nowhere, all right, that all of a sudden you don't have enough milk and they're eating all the time, that's a growth spurt. And the last thing you want to do is like get that milk out of the freezer or supplement with formula or anything else. You want to keep putting the baby to the breast. I would just recognize it. And again, I just finished this whole chapter in my new Simply Breastfeeding program, and I made sure that it is in there. It's in the old one too, but it's in the new one in a little bit more detail. But it is really important, take almost like a nursing vacation, okay? You're going to like literally go, here we go. It's a growth spurt. And, hopefully it's on a weekend if you're working, but if it's not, you may need to take a day or two off for work and just stay home with the baby and nurse around the clock. Yeah. Okay. Just nurse. Because what's going to happen is if you do that and you keep giving that signal to your breasts, you know, empty, 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 empty. Okay. The emptiness of your breast signals your body to make a lot more. And 2 days later, you've got a lot more milk. And now they're gagging and choking on the milk because you got all this extra milk. All right. So that's how you come through the growth spurt. If you let your breast get really, really full, it tells your body to make less. So that's the way that supply and demand works. It's actually a quite simple system, a simple system for all this confusion, right? It's really so simple. I call my program Simply Breastfeeding. It really, it's simple, not easy, but simple. Okay, and we want to keep this very simple. Everybody wants to complicate it, and it's not. It's really not complicated. Your body knows what to do. Your baby knows what to do. It's everybody else that doesn't know what the heck to do, giving you advice. All right, and you need to listen to your body, let your body and your baby lead. All right, Rebecca. Very good today. Very good. We answered
a lot of questions.
We didn't get to all of them. I know you guys have. They're posting questions in the chat here, and there's still so many. We're going to just have to do a lot more live streams, which we're going to be doing. You guys, if you want to be part of the early access and part of my special group of people who are going to join me on my Baby Experts membership, remember this coming up August, which is just a few weeks away. We will have a 4-day open cart, meaning open time for you to join, and then it's going to close for a little while. So make sure that you go on the wait list. If you type the word baby, you'll be able to get on the wait list. If you're already getting messages from me, you'll get a message. Make sure you're opening my emails. Okay, that's how I'm going to announce when the time is right for you guys to jump in and join me, all right? Because I need you to join me. We're going to film stuff together. You're going to be like behind the scenes. All right, I'm going to be filming all the lessons out on some of these topics like growth spurts and, you know, pumping and all these things that you're asking about. Okay, we'll be filming them live, and I'm going to let you sit in the audience and just cheer me on while we film the whole thing together, right? And take all of your suggestions. I need you all to help me understand, what do we need? Let's build the most perfect platform for mothers all over the world to get everything they need for themselves and for their babies. We're going to do that together, okay? So pay attention. I love you guys. Love you, Rebecca.
Love you too. I would just like to say super quick that I am going to post the link right here in a few seconds, which is going to give anybody who signs up a free 10-day access to Slumber Academy.
Oh my goodness, wonderful.
Yep, so I'm going to post that link in a few seconds as soon as I'm done here, so that if anybody wants to have a little look around, that's the perfect opportunity to do so.
Fantastic. That's great. Thank you for doing that. Oops, what did I do here? I'm trying to like get rid of this thing on the screen. There we go. Okay, good. All right, guys, and thank you to Love to Dream and Evenflo for your amazing support and amazing products that help moms and dads and babies, of course, and for the great prizes. We have winners. I think, oh yes, okay, Stephanie posted the winners. Congratulations, yay, to the winners. I see them here. Fantastic. Okay, we'll see you soon. Take care, everyone.
Bye.
Bye.